Let's see if we can start the live in a little while. Now let's adjust the little things to start the live. A tweak here and there, and we'll be ready. A little bit more. And we will be ready to start the live today. Let's go. We are opening in a minute. We will begin. I hope everyone is well despite the heat in Brazil. Here in Aventura, where I am close to me, it is not so hot. It is fine, very pleasant temperature. And now we've already started the live. Some new information for you now. Okay, it's 8 p.m. I'm in Aventura. Today is March 12th, 2025, and today's live is titled From the Ephemeral to the Existential, the Dematerialization of Facts into Parallel Realities. It seems so complicated, but I'll explain it and make it so easy. From the ephemeral, it's a quick thing, okay? And it becomes existential in your life, and the dematerialization of facts is the things that are there, science and evidence. If you question, if you doubt all the time, and it becomes a reality, a world of doubt, of parallel reality. And I tell you, I pay some scientists very well to do this, to doubt, even knowing that it happens, just to enter, let the population enter a parallel reality just to increase profits for some people. That's it, that's all. But it's a lot of money. So things happen in a very complicated, very structured way. And we're going to try to understand that today. First thing, before understanding, I'm going to talk a lot about feelings. And feelings, I've already told you in other live streams, and I'll repeat it again. Feelings are something that happens, and it sets up a metabolism, a type of reaction. Cerebral in all parts of your brain and creates a feeling. This feeling, in the feeling, it can let you have rock, paper, and scissors, which are the brain connectomes, or it can restrict you. You stay only on paper. It depends on the feeling. If you are in a feeling of fear, for example, you are rock, okay? You will replicate what you already know. If you are in a feeling a little more relaxed to explore, you are scissors, exploring things, registering, exploring, analyzing. If you are in a feeling of paper, of laughter, of humor, of openness, of outsourcing of the body, looking from the outside, you are lighter, you are in meditation, in a song, in euphoria, or in some altered state of consciousness, but not restrictive, it is open. But what restricts this is the feeling. And it's funny because for you to have a mind, the mind comes from a feeling. Remember that my definition of mind is a Damasian definition, which is interoception. With the acception itself, you have the mind. But all of this, the mind, it comes from a feeling, from a metabolism. Without metabolism, cerebral without mind. So the metabolism, which is a feeling, and when it has a certain consciousness, this feeling is of this feeling. It is in the feeling that we will place the facts and the realities and the information. Why so many difficult words? When a reporter wants to trick you, when someone, a news story wants to trick you, it captures a feeling. For example, if I want to meet a person, I capture a feeling of disgust, anger, indignation based on that feeling. I am in it, and I say something about that person, about their hair, their clothes, what they said, what they thought, what they bought. Then I pass on the information to you. I pass on the information based on a feeling. If I pass on the information based on a feeling, I'm imposing a conscience on you. I feel because I take a feeling and I'm going to give you information that you don't have. I feel that I get angry, hateful, upset, something bad, and I give you information about someone, about something. I'm imposing a feeling on you with that information. I'm imposing a conscience on you. Good, right? This consciousness, this imposed consciousness, which will dematerialize the facts. Because if I impose a consciousness, it is with it that I will analyze the facts. So, depending on the consciousness that I have, I question reality, including scientific reality. I question, I doubt, and then I break, I crack things that are robust, that are firm, but I crack, I doubt because there is an interest behind it. Okay, this started now on social media. There's also a lot of that. I'm going to explain something in depth, which is brain rot. Almost like a rotten brain, let's say. What is a rotten brain? It's a brain that can only think if it has a lot of emotion. If it doesn't have emotion, it's bad. Rotten is a bit of a bad term. I don't like it, okay? Brian Roth is cool. Brian Rot, it's cool. But when I translate it, it's not cool. It doesn't sound cool because to me, it's like a baby's brain. When the baby is there, you have to get its attention. And you get it with a lot of emotion. You give the baby emotion, and the baby will have, with the emotion, you control something and you put brain formation because the baby is there. You call attention and you put brain formation. This word, this laugh, this candy, this sweet, the information that enters the baby is of 11 dimensions. I speak of 12 still, which I use belonging, which are the senses. There are a lot of senses that enter the baby, and you manage to put the information by calling attention, putting an emotion, look, the reporter, or the memes, or the internet. First, we'll put an emotion, a feeling for you, and after that feeling, we'll throw a fact. And then you are already polarized and your consciousness is already converted. Do you understand? That's why sources of information are important. I am clear in telling you, I state with absolute certainty, your consciousness comes from your sources of information. Not only the sources of information that you turn to find out the news, the sources of information that come to you from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep. Visual, auditory, gustatory, taste, the bite of food, the quality of food, what's inside the food, all the information that comes to you. Information shapes you, information gives you consciousness. When you change sources of information, you change your consciousness. It's always like that. But if I'm a reporter, I'm someone biased, I have an ideology, I have a religiosity, I play a feeling, I hold a feeling and tell you what you don't know about a feeling. Any feeling can cause restriction in the brain connectomy. It can be just rock. If it is just rock, there is no longer a connectomy for you to have reason and logic. Or reason and logic are only to defend the information you received. It is restriction. When did this joke start and how do you know about this joke? This joke starts with the Republican European sentiment a long time ago, right? Why Republican European feelings? In Europe, the Republican feeling comes from the Republic, from the Greek Roman, that democracy where the citizen is the good man, the rich man. No women, no poor people, no slaves, no immigrants. Here is the Republican European sentiment. And with this Republican European sentiment, where those who are citizens go out and explore other countries. Not even the Indian, the natural inhabitant of the American continent, was considered a person. He was an animal because that is the European sentiment. In that sentiment, I go and kill a population, I practice genocide. And in that European genocide that came here and wiped out the indigenous population, basically, I think around 27 million indigenous people, in the name of a cross, in the name of the cross, in the name of a sacred sentiment. So, did you notice I take a sentiment and practice attitudes on them or throw information at them? So, in the Republican sentiment of being, where there are norms and rules, I impose them. Rules and regulations about the citizen. These rules and regulations already allow behind it that the citizen is the rich, the good. A good man is a citizen. A woman, no. A child, no. Indian, no. Black, no. Immigrant, no. That's the factor. So at that moment, you are forged. Your mind is configured with the Republican feeling that we have to follow the rules and regulations. I had a conversation with my father in law, and he said this, but of course, if you leave the child alone, he will never be good. He will be an animal. He will be a wicked person. No. Communities, even if left alone, have their structures and have the definition of the state. The state, as being like this, we, the living beings in this region, have a history. And this history is preserved. History is the state. And today, who tells the history? The ones who tell the history are those who give you the information. Basically, it's the Republicans, the financial market, and the armed forces. That's it. What a Republican says, those who think that good must be imposed and in their own way in society, deputies, senators, it doesn't matter who the politician is, or even within the state, judges, prosecutors, the Republican says like this, the law is order, it imposes. Now, the real state has a history in this space, and this history is good, seeking the good of all for the benefit of each one. It's a democracy, it's something different. The Republican doesn't, it's imposing rules, it's stamping what must be done. And what must be done is to help a privileged minority, this privileged minority that is more profit, less state. The state only serves to hold its assets, to protect the assets of these minorities. This minority that I tell you is 120, 130 people, is not even 1% of the population. And when you're on the run from the Republic, you lock yourself in, you restrict yourself, you impose a feeling, which is the Republican feeling. So that's how it is. You have to impose the rule and norm. You have to be tough. And sometimes I get on myself and impose the rule and norm on myself. And then it's a Republican feeling. I don't stay flexible. I don't give myself flexibility. There are times when I push something, but man, I myself have the right to deny the imposition because, man, it has to be democratic. There are several mistakes in the game, right? Is it a creation? Is it a belief? And this self sometimes has a Republican belief, and this self has an ego, and it admits to being the king. I always show a great example. Christians really like the story of there were angels in heaven, and a very evil angel who was very good but was very evil, and the angel wanted to be God, and then he was expelled. A third of the angels that were in heaven were expelled from heaven and came to earth. Okay, inside you there is a self. It is a third part of you that wants to be your entire being. This self has to be expelled from you, and sometimes it is there hammering us. This me, this negative side that wants to be the being, he's arrogant, he has an ego, he wants to be the being. It's just me, it's a me that serves as an identity. Me, my identity. I'm an engineer, I'm this, I'm Jax, I'm that. That's just a me, it's just an identity. He can't buzz, wanna be, all of his wanna be the being. So the cool allegory is this. Mind, when you have the mind, after the mind, you will have consciousness. The mind is on top of a feeling, okay? And feeling, why this feeling? You are with interoception and proprioception, and you are going inside a feeling. You will never have consciousness outside of a feeling. Never, never. The Republican sentiment says that, look, first reason and logic, then feeling. Okay, you will never have reason and logic alone. You will have reason and logic about a feeling. If you are in a Republican feeling, reason and logic are already restricted to the Republican feeling. It will want to impose rules to correct, mold, forge people, can people. The Republican feeling is that, but then you come back here and now you have a mind, and this mind appears and has the feeling. It's okay. One important thing is that the mind will always seek belonging, and the mind does not have access to the consciousness of what belonging is, because belonging is something that belongs to living beings, something that belongs to cells, which I call Korean sense, right? Korean sense. Korean sense is when a bunch of cells together or a bunch of bacteria together receive information and all act together. But the mind, what does it come from? It comes from brain processes, metabolism processes. There is a brain area, another brain area, another brain area in activity, and it gives rise to a mind. These activities come from the cells, but they do not have this property of belonging, so the mind will seek belonging without being aware of its search. This is fundamental for you. This was fundamental for me. I seek belonging without being aware that I am seeking belonging. So what happens when the reporter expresses a feeling and gives information? I seek belonging, and then I take that feeling and block the information I am receiving. And if the information, even though it is true, if the reporter raised doubts and I ignore that truth, I ignore that reality and change and change. That's when I say that the realities are parallel realities because I start to invent things in my head because the information came in a different way. Okay. When the mind seeks these processes, I'll tell you about a little book that I read a lot, which is Think Fast and Slow, Daniel Culler. It's really cool. This book is really simple. After you read it, you'll say, wow, Think Fast is a stone like connect to me. You'll do your thing automatically. Think Slow is a connect to me that you, oops, hold on, let's explore, let's see. The new is there. If the new is there, I don't fixate on a feeling. I open myself to feelings. And within the feelings that I open myself to explore, I have my emotions within each feeling. And open up the feeling. The Republican feeling is no longer, I get stuck in a feeling, and emotions are these little locks that don't let you leave the stone connect to me. So you are restricted to the Republican feeling, and emotions are variable within this Republican feeling. You will not explore a new world. You will restrict everyone to Republican thinking. What is Republican thinking? It has a stamp. I stamp people to think this way since they are born. This is the Republican. That's it. Let's go a little further. Because my belonging, and as I say, belonging is something primal. It's something that is outside of meaning. I call belonging a sense, but it's not a conscious sense. It's primal. The brain doesn't process belonging. The brain seeks belonging. The mind seeks belonging without being aware of this search. It's natural. It already goes after belonging and is not aware of it. It's no use. Of course, we keep talking and we have logic, reason, and then we rationalize. But it doesn't exist. We will always seek this belonging. Let's exchange. Let's make a much better exchange so that it's easier for you. How old are you? 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old? Okay, change of society. You were born in Japan, you were born in China, you were born somewhere else. Everything you are thinking will change and your feelings will change, and belonging is belonging to your local community. Doctor, that's what we are talking about. It's belonging. You want to belong to your people, and your people are not family. They are also family. They are the group, they are the whole, they are the news, they are the information, they are the meaning. So you go and look for it. Just like a baby if you have one. Nowadays, what's happening with social media is that there's a lot of emotion, information, videos, and the pretty blue of the screens. I've even reduced the screens on my cell phones and computers. I've turned off the blue. I put everything to sleep. If there's a sleep mode, put it to sleep. So then I no longer have the stimulus of the blue on my cell phone or on the screens. I always watch the news itself so as not to have that stimulus, to not have that feeling of euphoria, of dopamine. When the blue comes, it gives me dopamine. Dopamine is the hormone that the brain secretes. Dopamine prevents melatonin from appearing, which is the sleep hormone. So when I take this away throughout the day, the information is more important than the feeling in the information, which modulates the information. And this is the idea that we are making for you. So when you pick up a baby, you start to call his attention, call his attention, call his attention, and give him information, give him information. Food, drink, bath, and more food, and smells, and tastes, and movements, and words, and you keep giving the baby information. And you're always looking for feelings. You lock in a feeling and pass it on to the baby. And he's in a certain environment, he's in the kitchen, he's in the living room, he's somewhere, and you keep giving these on top of feelings, you keep putting information in. Okay, baby, with training, your brain gets a little better. It becomes more mature, especially after 30 years. Your brain is more mature. If you go back to only looking for very intense emotional things, you'll go back to having a baby's brain. You won't be able to listen to a live show like mine, for example, which is 30 minutes long. You'll listen to 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and then you'll change the channel because there's no way around it. Your brain becomes this Brian Roth brain. He can't keep his attention on something that doesn't have dopamine, that doesn't have adrenaline, that doesn't have emotion, can't take it. So it's a brain that will accept social networks a lot because it receives this impact from a soft number of information. And not only that, and the little blue light on your cell phone is to release dopamine into your brain. The little blue one releases dopamine. And I really like this little blue, okay? I really like, and since I took it off when I put it on, it has an impact, okay? Which really gives a lot of dopamine. Okay, so let's go. What are the human senses? Vision, hearing, smell, taste, proprioception, interoception, balance, thermoception, nociception, chromoception, and belonging. This belonging will depend on the information you receive, and you will want to belong to this group. When you want to, and this is unconscious, the mind does not reach, the consciousness does not reach. Do you understand? So what happens? People come to you, the social network or someone else, and pass on the feeling. And in this feeling, I put the information of facts that may be reality, but the feeling modulates the fact. And then you are going into a parallel reality. You've changed, you've changed. It's no longer reality, it's reality on top of a feeling, feelings that block. Man, what a crazy thing, right? What a strange thing. How to get out of this? Who's doing this? Okay. If you look at the information that reaches you in the past, who controlled it? They controlled the newspapers, they controlled the media. Now, the ones who control it are big techs and also the media. But man, big techs want money. So you have to see who has the money. The ones who really control everything, the sense of information, even in big tech, pay them to inform, are the owners of the money. I would say three very strong powers: the republic, the financial market, and the armed forces. Republic, financial market, and armed forces are this idea of, man, I can't let people think, I have to impose what should be thought. That's what Republicans are. I have to impose on my children, on my sons, on women, on men, how things should be thought. Women have to be the breadwinners of the home. Men have to be workers and provide for themselves. I don't know. I'm making up a bunch of stuff for you, okay? Republicans impose this, but we're talking about Republicans who now hold a lot of power, a lot of money, a lot of money. Today, for example, the financial market, the average strength, the republic creates a single core. The financial market basically earns $1 trillion in annual interest. 1 trillion in annual interest, almost that, right? Dude, 10% of that, man, is 100 billion bucks for you to do whatever you want. So, what is important for you to know? On the internet, you have quality information. Sometimes the information is false, sometimes it is true. All parties, all people sometimes speak false or true information, but there are people, and I am one of them, who can even tell you false information but thinking it is true. There are people who simply use false information to deceive. They know it is false. But that's not important because I say something that is not true, you say something that is not true or not true, it doesn't matter. Whoever uses false information to deceive and has a lot of money, for example, 100 billion to spend to deceive the population, will make this false information not just one, but a million pieces of information and repeat it a million times. By doing this, you have the information reaching the population on social media. This information reaches the population through social media, through the media. It doesn't matter because it's a lot of money, okay? It comes and creates the identity of the politician. It creates the vision. You make politicians who were once barbaric and become saints. You create the vision of the politician because there is a lot of information coming in. We have no control over it. This amount of information that comes in and this information on top of some feelings gives you the awareness that you must have of that person or of those processes. So, what will you see? That the amount of information that comes to you is more relevant than its quality. It may be true or it may be false, but if it is a million times more, that is what remains. It is easy for me to say this. What is your religiosity? If in your life you have repeated more the Bible than anything else, than the Quran, for example, because you are more Christian, the name Bible is what you repeat. You need a feeling. You understand it's what repeats what remains. So, based on this information, things happen. But the information is brought to you with many feelings, and it will change reality. I'm reading a little book called The Power of Doubts. Doubts are an impressive thing. It's like this. I'm going to take a million false pieces of information, and I'm going to tell you that vaccination. If I take one case of a vaccine that doesn't work, yes, two cases, yes, three cases, yes, 100 cases, yes, yes, it didn't work for 101,000 people. But if I take 100 million, 100 million people, you'll see that it works because that's statistical, the climate emergency too. Normally, the Republicans, together with the financial market and the other forces, want more profit. They want to privatize the state. These three powers take over the state that is our history, the state that is us, the citizens. These three powers with the republic take the state and make the state work for them to have more privileges, and the citizen is left alone, and even though he is left alone, he continues to condemn the state because the state is collecting taxes. Yes, but this state is built by these Republicans, financiers, the financial market, and the armed forces. It's because of them that this is happening. It's all together. It's all together. And what does this financial market want? It wants to destroy the state. It wants to privatize the state. It wants to make more money. The privatizations that took place in Sao Paulo, they privatize. And whoever buys the privatization ends up making more profit with the shares. It's an amazing thing. Buy and you already have more profit. This is not high performance. This is theft. It is simply theft. And we are falling for this scam. Yes, but this scam is way up there. It is a trillion in annual interest. This trillion is putting it in our heads that we need a small, lean state. No, we need a state that gives us a sense of belonging. Just as a cell receives energy to work, the state should give you knowledge, give you energy, give you direct access to citizens so that you can work. And if you don't want to work, you don't work. I want to see how many months you spend on the beach, sitting on the beach without working. Everyone wants to, connect, work, exchange information. Yes, but the Republican has to work here and there, earn this and that way, and cut it. People are so desperate, running after money without belonging. They are displaced, wanting to look for something, some explosive news, an extremely strong emotion, to put information into this extremely strong emotion. And this information becomes a false consciousness. Yes, but the data there is not true. Yes, but on top of that feeling, it generates a false consciousness because you will always have a feeling. The information you receive, that feeling, you will be conscious of that. And then you are being against someone or in favor of someone because marketing is making you be against someone. Let's go back. Republic, financial market, the really rich, and the armed forces. They control marketing, they control information. What you are thinking many times is simply planted information. Are you ready to take this life-changing step? That's what we're proposing. And it's not about making any revolution outside, it's up to you. Where are you going to question your first self? Yourself. How are these ephemeral things? How are these things controlling your life? How is the ephemeral becoming existential? How is this anger, this hatred, making me live this and be this? As Antonio Belsuro says, there is no more love. Before 2014, people talked about love, about friendships. After this revolution and this control of misinformation, there's not only hatred, I don't know what. And now a big conspiracy, a bunch of elaborate lies. It's against the vaccine, it's against the climate emergency. But they don't know that behind it there's a trillion in annual interest that the stock market is almost getting and cheating the entire population, cheating me, cheating you, cheating everyone, my mother, your father, my father-in-law, my uncle, everyone. And then you think this is bad. I remember that even some information talking about the GDP, when I was quiet, the GDP increased by 1%. Oh, the GDP increased by 1%. Look at Brazil swarming. Now the GDP increases by 3. Look, the GDP is increasing by 3%, you know? Feeling is what creates awareness. And the feeling is changed, it is modulated. The feeling is a feeling that comes from the Republican, it comes from this financial market, and it comes from the armed forces together with a small block of power, which normally tries a coup from time to time. If there is another government that tries to help the population, it will carry out a coup. There will be coup attempts all the time, you understand? You can't help the population, you have to privatize the state, make it small just to ensure property rights. Property, yes, because people have more assets than the state of Espiritu Santo, for example. What kind of property is this? What right is this? And a good part of the population has land with nothing, no home. Guys, let's play this. Think about it. Take a good look. Control your information. I promise you, if in 40 days you change your sources of information in 40 days, you will have a new awareness, better or worse, because sometimes. But if you change the sources of information, and the source of information is food, drink, music, belief, information on television, information on the internet, you change the sources of information, consciousness changes because the source of information is what forms our consciousness. A big hug to you. See you next Wednesday.